The Urban Dictionary defines ass play as stimulating someone's anus with any of the following: finger, mouth, toe, fists, hamster, cell phone, set to vibrate, etc. I don't know why I needed to tell you that. Just something you needed to know. Nothing good!
Hey, welcome to another episode of Nothing Good. This is Doc, joined by Mr. Brown, Mac, and Jafar to my right. How's everybody doing this fine evening?
Well, I'm better now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
After all that information.
Last week it was tantric orgasms, and then this week it's ass play. I'm not saying there's a theme here, but I'm learning a lot.
Season 2 brings a lot of gifts.
It does.
A lot of knowledge. You're here to learn from us. Your supple, young, fresh minds must then be hardened and molded by our podcast.
I'm just saying there's a lot that I can take home from this.
Yeah, valuable life lessons.
Right.
Yeah.
I've always thought of putting a cell phone up my girlfriend's ass. I just never thought of setting it to vibrate.
That's the next level of shit.
Now I just fucking know.
The internet brings that to you.
Yeah.
Smart.
And the internet brings us
Make
to
sure it's
you,
charged.
sweet listener.
Wait, can we combine something for a second?
Let's go for it.
So, smartwatches, right? You can set your smartwatch to vibrate. What if you fisted her and also called yourself
Or
the
him.
same... Or him, yeah. I mean, we're completely open to all fisting.
Yeah.
Right? All shapes, sizes, of assholes.
More
are
or less
welcome.
than the average knuckle count, whatever it takes.
Yeah, exactly.
220, 221.
So,
Oh, yeah?
Yes, I sent the Mr. Mom reference in
Oh, my God.
to a fisting joke in the middle of a Steel Magnolias episode.
Jesus.
We're
That's
talking
what
about Steel
this is
Magnolias.
season
This is
2.
a real
Fuck
weird
you.
segue.
that is just... that's fucking expert level shit right there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And speaking of expert level shit, we hope you have enjoyed season 2 of the show so far. And we are just trucking along with keeping your fucking ass guessing this season. By the way, just want to reiterate, fuck you. If you haven't heard that recently,
Wait, last episode, there was not a single fuck you to the
No,
audience.
because the movie Street Fighter is the fuck you
It is
to
the
the
fuck you to
audience.
the audience.
More of a fuck you I could ever give.
True.
Okay,
Unfortunately.
but this week we have an interesting topic. This is the first thing ever chosen from Noah's Meat, the mystery wheel that we spun. And what did it get? Steel Magnolias.
You spin Noah's Meat will provide.
Mm-hmm.
And
It'll spin you.
Love
it
it.
provided us with Steel Magnolias.
You know what's funny about when you spun your wheel of meat, Noah? When you just kind of gave
meat wheel.
your meat wheel and just gave me to spin around for all of us. The one thing we said, there's no fucking way it's gonna land on Steel Magnolias,
And it did.
and it fucking landed on Steel
It's
Magnolias.
like the monkey's paw.
Oh my god!
Episode choices. But here we are now. Before we get into it, we gotta do our thing. Also buy time because I don't know what we're gonna fucking talk about with this movie. But gentlemen, what are we drinking? Mac, why don't you say what 3 or 4 of us are drinking?
Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, it's officially October, and we have entered what they say is the spooky season. And what better way to get into the holiday season and get into the cheer of Halloween? But we got some Spooky Tooth Imperial Pumpkin Ale from local Fatheads Brewing.
Spooky.
It's very pumpkin-y. And Dave's like, you know what? Everyone's getting fucked up. Here's a 10% beer.
I didn't think about that when I bought it. I was just very happy that I was contributing beer.
You were.
So
And
are we.
I
So
wanted
are
to
we.
take
Yeah.
this moment to raise one to the fact that Mac brought beer.
I did.
51,
I did.
57, 8, almost 60
It
episodes.
took 2 seasons to
It
get
took
here,
2
but here
seasons,
we are.
and Mac finally brought beer to the podcast. God bless you, sir.
I've had COVID. I've had a broken leg. It's just been hard getting to the store.
That was season 1.
To quote-
Get over
Yeah,
it.
To quote the most quotable part of Ghostbusters 2, better late than never.
that's right.
And there it is. But Doc Ever, the trendsetter, he does not adhere to the status quo, and so he is drinking something different. Doc, what are you drinking?
Founders Centennial IPA, which is apparently featuring Centennial hops, for those who give a shit about that sort of thing.
100-year hops.
It's good. It's not my cup of tea. First time I've ever had it. It's a little
not.
more
It's a beer.
It's more bitter than I'd prefer, but it's all right. It's
See
doing
what
the
you did
job.
there.
Yeah, thank you. Can I say something to the ladies, Noah?
Oh, please.
So,
This podcast is for the ladies.
all right. Hey, girl. What you doing? How's it going? You slipping into your yoga pants and your flannel and your vest, getting your pumpkin spice. If that's not getting you going enough, ladies and gentlemen, some of the gentlemen too. Herb Jones is wearing a hooded sweatshirt.
You know what that means?
The panties are just going to drop.
Well, no.
Oh, it's not?
Probably not.
Too late. They already did.
They already did.
It's the most important time of the year. It's JHW, justifiable hoodie weather.
Oh,
And you live for this.
I've been waiting for this shit.
Yeah.
listen. Superman has his cape, right?
Yeah.
Indiana Jones has his fedora. Herbert Lawrence Jones III has his hooded sweatshirt.
That is
It
the
is.
Doc uniform.
It
It
is
is.
so comfortable. It is so relaxing. It just reminds me of a brisk chill in the air. The leaves are turning. The booze is flowing. And nothing good's happening right here on this podcast.
No.
As we talk about surprisingly interesting movie, Still Magnolias.
Yeah.
Something good?
So,
Yeah,
Question mark?
Yeah, maybe.
this did not fall into the immediately comedic resource that I thought it would be for putting it onto the meat, because I knew the movie got sad. I didn't realize that the movie spends 95% in what I have now coined the bummer zone. That there's sometimes when you have movies and then they get to be a bummer, but the character has to grow from it. The movie settles in with an opening scene that has a seizure in it and settles you into the bummer zone, and it never comes out of the bummer zone. Not once.
I'm going to start the review real quick. I'm going to pose the question. Who's your favorite character?
Oh, I gotta go Wheezy.
Easy.
Easy,
Wheezy, baby.
I have feelings about a lot of the actresses in this movie, better or worse. I think Daryl Hannah's incredible. Not in this movie, but in most other things. We'll talk about the main actress in a little bit when I have drank enough beer to get angry again. But Shirley MacLaine walks into this movie,
Marches
with the most honest big dick energy I've ever seen someone walk onto the movie set with, like, straight big dick energy, and she doesn't stop swinging that thing until the last scene in the movie. Like, that thing knocked poor key grips and extras over. We're just concussed by the sheer weight of her big dick energy in this movie.
There's a lot to be said about Shirley MacLaine in this. She fucking understood the assignment.
She did.
Mm-hmm.
She really did. I feel bad because I feel like a lot of the rest of the cast didn't, but it's not their fault, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. My favorite character about this is Drum Eatonton. Is that what we say the last
Tom
name?
Skerritt?
Yeah, Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt. Just say
It's
Tom Skerritt.
fantastic
Yeah, Tom
hair.
Skerritt.
Way better.
I
You'd say fantastic hair.
It's fucking fantastic hair.
He
yeah,
does.
I fucking loved the big dick energy he brought to Shirley MacLaine.
Yes. Yep.
Because the dynamic between the two of them, I thought, was one of the I think maybe it was the only real dynamic that any of the cast actually had with one another in kind of watching this movie.
Yeah, they had a tension immediately when they're at the cake scene and he walks up to her. You immediately like, okay, the movie shifts into a place that you're like, oh, this is interesting. Like, I could watch these two just like I could watch Shirley MacLaine try her absolute hardest not to fucking stab this man. Like, all of her he's holding a knife. She's holding a knife, and you said that to her. Bold move, Tom Skerritt. Let's see how it plays out for him. Oh,
He likes to eat ass.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
In 2022, Steve Magnolia comes out and says, "Yeah, I do like to eat ass." And he just walk away. He get dead ass, no cap, for real. And then
That is the youngest thing you've ever said.
wait. Has anyone sidebar? Because I know the only one of us that actively listens to the show once it comes out is Jafar. And he watches the show. Jafar, have you been paying attention to any of the bios I've been writing on the episodes lately?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Because I know nobody does.
It's a wonderful thing.
And nobody does. And so I assume if there's anyone who does, it's Jafar. I've lately just reverted to telling our audience to go fuck themselves
in any way, shape, or form.
It's our be fucked, get fucked, check yourself before you fuck yourself, stuff like that.
You ever notice when I, retweet the episode on Twitter, all that shit's gone for a reason.
The description's gone.
And it's interesting because, like,
just the
Every
title.
time, I'm
Here
like,
it is.
we're not including this.
our downloads have gone up. So it's almost like the audience wants to get fucked by you.
I mean, everybody
They wanna
kind
be
of,
told.
I guess, does want to.
I mean, it works,
Yeah.
So I've just decided that the episode is the content. So all the other stuff that we have to do around it, like the art. Has anyone looked at the art for the second SummerSlam 1992 episode? No one's paid attention to that. This is why I operate on check. Jeff, do you want to describe what the art is for that?
No, because I haven't seen it either.
Okay, it's art part 2 is an actual English bulldog smoking crack
My God.
in front of Wembley Stadium in the Union Jack. That's
Any Peru nudes?
and apparently I'm on the podcast.
What the fuck was that?
What's happening?
I was trying to go take a look at the Bulldogs doing crack, and
It just started playing.
the end of episode 24 just popped up as I did that.
So they're talking about
Mac has been
Yeah.
drinking, ladies and
So
gentlemen.
4 minutes. With 4 minutes remaining in the episode of Christmas Story available in the archives,
available in the archives.
you will hear that very line uttered by the one, the only Noah Brown.
Yeah, I don't even know idea what I was talking about.
I heard something about maybe
Peruvian
nudes.
A lot of nudes. What nudes?
Peruvian.
Peruvian.
Oh, Peruvian nudes. Well, Peruvian never came back. Nudes or not. So, Peru.
I feel bad about Peru. I was thinking about them.
They
the
were
other
gone
day.
long before we started messing with them.
I know, but like I'm looking at it, it's like what could have been.
What could have been?
I'm not saying it's one of the great lost opportunities of my life, but I was definitely looking forward to going to Peru and doing the show.
Could have been top 20.
It could have been, yeah.
Could have been. Or bottom 20, depending on how you rank the
Or
what ifs
both.
of your
I
life.
mean, it could have been like
It's-
somewhere in the 17 range, but falls into both.
Technically, mathematically speaking, here's some random math, which I've been inquired to do again, and I will do in a future episode when I haven't been drinking as much. That if you only have 20 things on your list of what ifs, then they're both the top 20 and the bottom 20 at the same
They
time.
are.
And it's fucking Inception.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
speaking of the Inception, so this was a play. It was it conceived as a play based off. I know the writer wrote it about his own sister, who had a lot of the same problems that Julia Roberts had in this movie.
Yes.
So
Yeah, Steel Magnolias is a major play
Yeah.
in the theater world. This is it's a very female driven story. The roles are fantastic for female actors. It is one of those things that theater companies love to have it because it's an audience driver. When you're doing a lot of community theater, you're going to get a lot of people to come together. You're going to get great performances out of great actors, and it's just one of those things. So naturally, we're going to see if we can carry that momentum into the theater and turn this thing around. And a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about as we kind of go into this is the challenges that movies have being adapted from a play. And I think that this movie, in terms of the areas that I struggled with it, is related to that.
yeah, it was like a stage play that happened in the set of someone's home kitchen or basically around someone's house. We went off on a tangent again before you said your favorite character. The two of you.
Easy Weezy, baby.
Yeah.
She
Weezy was where it's
fucking
at.
stole every scene she was fucking in every single time.
Just walk through that movie.
And,
Power walk through that movie.
My wife, watched the movie with me, and she was fucking cackling with all of her one-liners. She'd never seen the movie before.
Been in a bad mood for 40 years.
I
Yeah.
fucking love that shit.
Yeah.
Like I didn't love this movie. I liked it fine. It was all right. But hold on. So
Said he pushed it out. He did push it away.
when the wheel was spun, okay, and you briefly touched on this, and I feel like this is going to drive this conversation forward because this is really fucking important to the context of how I viewed this film. I'm like, okay, oh shit, Steel Magnolias. What the fuck am I getting myself into? Thankfully I didn't have to fucking pay directly for it because
No.
it was on Netflix, and I'm still paying for Netflix. But you know what I mean. I approached it. First of all, just it has the description, little bullet points, boom, 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 and it said comedy, and I went, oh shit, this is a comedy. Oh, okay. I thought it was
Yeah.
like full on drama the whole time. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, this could be kind of palatable then. I was genuinely surprised at how much comedy is actually in it. It was surprising amount of funny moments, but it's typically like the same character who's just making me fucking laugh over and over and over again. Wheezy just fucking Shirley MacLaine just fucking kills this thing. It makes the movie so much more enjoyable for me because when she's not in the scene, I'm like, whatever. The story's progressing. As soon as she shows, I'm like, all right, what the fuck she gonna say this time?
Yeah,
I was like ready for it.
Storms in.
Storm and like
Drop
she's
kicks in the door to
marching
the set
up to every fucking scene. And I fucking love it. Like the big dick energy, she 100% has the entire time.
Yeah.
But the thing was, like, I was so not ready for that type of film.
No.
I wasn't ready to chuckle at all. Like, I was ready to be like, all right, let's see what the fuck we're going. But honestly, I'm glad I watched it.
Was this the first time you ever saw it?
I'd never seen anything. I knew nothing about this film outside of Dave telling me last week that it was based on a play. And I'm like, all right, well, there's something there. But beyond that, I knew nothing about this film. But I was
just heard about it throughout the
pleasantly
years?
surprised how enjoyable it was on the back end of the film. But yeah, Wheezy's is fucking shit.
Well, I think you mentioned something important there too, Jones, is that it transitions, I think, into a movie in the third act. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that a lot of this still kind of follows the pacing of a play through much of the movie until we get to the incident where shit gets serious. Like it's real, gets real.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I notice a lot of the actors becoming like shifting from being a theater actor doing a movie to being a movie actor doing
playing it a little bit more real.
Yeah,
a little more grounded.
And again, I'll go back to Tom Skerritt on this because for a lot of the movie, he's the clown. He is. You know, he's an overtly non-serious character. He's comedic relief. He's done a whole lot of outrageous things throughout until you get to the hospital, and then it's stoic. It's the Tom Skerritt we see in other movies.
Yeah.
You know, you just kind of see how the tenor just changes in that. Where I was surprised because I wasn't in watching the movie. I wasn't sure we were going to get there.
No,
I wasn't sure it was ever going to really get there, and then it did.
If you look at the whole scheme of the movie, I mean, it's a movie about 5 or 6 women and their experiences and their friendship, and they make guys out to look like idiots.
Yes.
So you feel that through his character until he gets serious later on. For me, my favorite character was also Shirley MacLaine because she's the most relatable because we're all assholes.
Absolutely.
She's fantastic.
But aside from that, fucking Dolly Parton is a national treasure.
She was
man.
great. Her one-liners were also good.
First of all, Dolly Parton.
She's so good.
I'm going to call my own perceived stereotype or even like reluctant bigotry or whatever you want to call it in mind. It's come because we are from the northeast of the United States of America, right? In the last part of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century, and there is not much more that is from a different world that is still within arm's reach than that 70s country western, big hair, howdy y'all, stereotypical southerner kind of a thing that just seems like it's a whole nother world. And 99 times out of 100, anything comes out of that, you're just like, Beth, I don't know, not big into the Judds or any of that whole deal. But Dolly Parton defies all expectations, even in my brain, as to, she's just gonna Southern girl all of this, because she is as you said, a fucking national treasure.
Yeah, and part
she's
of it
a sweet
too
person who does sweet things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of it too is so the movie takes place in Louisiana, and we, as the audience, know that none of these actors have a real Southern accent, except for Dolly Parton. Like that's just fucking her. And like some of them, it's like, man, they're really going over the top with this, and it settles down as the movie goes on. But in the early few minutes, it's like, man, they're putting that shit on thick.
I like it.
Daryl Hannah especially. Yeah.
Well, I like at the end of the movie when with Sally Field when she just inadvertently in the middle of delivering a line just lost her accent.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She goes full on Miss Doubtfire.
Oh, full Miss Doubtfire.
After the funeral too, when she's doing her monologue, that's just going back and forth. Oh damn it, Robin Williams, I don't understand.
So,
is this an appropriate time to do it, or do you want me to wait?
Table it for just a second.
Got it.
All right. So talking about Dolly Parton, goddamn national treasure.
Absolutely.
Right? Part of the thing I fucking love about Dolly Parton in this, right? So one of the things I'll talk about is the horrible directing in this movie. These actors had nothing to go on, and I think for a lot of the movie it shows. But after a poor take, the director, Herbert Ross, reprimanded Dolly Parton, because I guess he didn't like what he was getting from her, and asked her if she could act.
She can.
He fucking asked Dolly Parton, what arrogance do you have? First off, as a director, the leader of this whole thing, the steward of the ship, what a great way to inspire your crew and your cast by just insulting a national treasure. And her response was, no, but it's your job to make me look like I can.
Ooh.
Fucking love Dolly Parton, man.
Mic drop, Dolly.
Love Dolly Parton.
Speaking of Dolly Parton, I know the three people who are sitting at this table are follow me on social media. My mom posted a picture yesterday of me and my brothers as children. I was probably 3 or 4 years old. Look at this shit. Sorry, audience, you can't see it.
Oh my
That's
God.
me and my brothers all rocking matching Dollywood t-shirts.
Listen,
oh my God.
Listen,
So sorry.
that's going on.
picture.
Well, listen, audience, you're not seeing it right now, but if you go to our Twitter and you go to our Facebook and you go to our
Shit'll be
Instagram
on
accounts
there.
and everything,
Incredible.
you are going to see that photo.
See, it's interesting because the three of us were born and raised in this state. So, the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for anyone who doesn't live in the United States or doesn't even live in this region, as I constantly describe, it is the southernmost place of the north of the United States and the northernmost place of the south. But you can definitively call yourself Appalachian, if you're not from Appalachia, or Northeast. But what you definitely don't call Pittsburgh is Midwest. And the Ohio man here, born and raised, was
Midwest.
full-on Midwest,
Yeah.
where Dolly is the queen of the world.
It's amazing. It is. It's
That's
amazing
interesting.
how anything west of the Pennsylvania, like, we get offended if you say Pittsburgh's in the Midwest.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
oh no, we're not. We're in the
We're part of
Northeast.
the- We're part of the trashy Northeast Original 13.
That's
Like,
right.
I
I'm-
got it wrong, and we never planned on anything wider than a single horse we'd ever have to drive down a road.
God damn
And
it.
half of them are fucking one way for some reason. Because fuck you. And god damn it, we get upset if you take your french fries off of the fucking sandwich. But Midwest, that's what we draw.
Well, don't forget that not only have we taken our 1-lane roads and made them all one way, we've also taken the 4-lane roads and made them 2 lanes because now everything has a bike lane.
Yep. Which, I mean, good for you for the 14 people in the city of Pittsburgh that
Yeah,
own a
it's
bicycle
not-
and want to
it's
use
not-
it. Because you are tempting death every time because the rest of the drivers in Pittsburgh
They
don't
give
give a
zero
fuck.
fucks.
No
No,
fucks.
We have intersections here that you have 38 feet going 70 miles an hour to get across 6 lanes of traffic on a bridge over water or everyone dies.
Before a tunnel.
Or a fucking
And
tunnel.
before a tunnel. And somehow, despite all that, life goes on in a city.
No, there
Hundreds of
are
thousands
less.
of people
There
go
are
through that
no
every day.
accidents in that fucking interchange. You notice that?
Everyone
should be.
suddenly learns to drive, and then as soon as they get out of the tunnel, they fucking hit a guy on a bicycle and keep driving. Because they got a Turner's Tea in one hand and an Iron City light in the other. Donnie Iris is on the radio, and the Steeler game is on in 10 minutes. That's Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Are you shooting off fireworks while you're doing it? Because that would just cause the entire city to come.
Yeah.
Only if there's Zambelli.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
Got to be
Yeah.
Zambelli fireworks.
Yeah, a city that is so fucking proud of their fireworks. If you have anything but Zambelli, they're gonna look at
That's
you
a weird
like you
flex.
cheap fuck.
Yeah, like that. It's like buying anything that's not Heinz ketchup.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Okay, so while I'm on a concept of ranting, because I also don't want this episode to go too long, I just want to mention, and I'm too calm for this, so it's not going to be too funny, but I fucking hate Sally Field, and let me explain to you why I fucking hate Sally Field, because she was so mean to Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire, and I am the exact appropriate age and mental spongeness to have thought that everything Robin Williams did was the funniest thing ever, and that's the kind of person I wanted to be when I grew up. And then for Sally Field to just be so mean to him. So, wow, she was a heel in that movie. She was the heel in that movie, and she did it very well to the point where I cannot watch a Sally Field movie without hearing her screaming at Robin Williams for just being a good dad, and it's want to fucking choke her. So, and this movie was no different. The fact of the matter that we got to see Sally Field's head, I counted it 5 times, the back of her head, because the director didn't bother to shoot her face when she was pretending to be sad. So they just had her turn her head and have her hands on her head like, we all know women, that means she's sad and doesn't want to talk about it. Well, Julia Roberts is following around a fucking house. And let me segue this to my main problem with the direction of this movie, and it's that most of the scenes in this movie are characters A, B, and C are sitting around. Character D walks into the movie, walks across the room. Character B walks over to character D. They talk. Character B returns. Character D gets upset and follows character B back over. A and C make quip marks and drive the story. That's it.
Wait.
All Olympia Dukakis did was walk into a room, say some shit to set off Shirley MacLaine,
Yeah, that's right.
and then tell Shirley MacLaine, you got to be that's camaraderie.
Larry.
So if anybody's listening to this podcast that's about to direct this play, and if you are, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, really, this is how you're doing your research?
You can still
Noah,
do the Man of La Mancha, right? Like, I mean, that's still a thing you can
yeah,
do. Okay,
you can still get out of this. Noah just blocked the entire the first act of this play. So just
welcome.
rewind that. Play that back in slow motion. Take a few notes. You're gold.
That's it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. To go back to your hatred for Sally Field for a second,
Mm-hmm.
because you brought this up multiple times over the years of our friendship, and probably multiple times on this podcast.
Yeah. Fuck that bitch.
I didn't really have a problem with Sally Field until the scene where Julia Roberts has the seizure, like
Yes.
10 minutes in.
Yeah.
And then I immediately was like, that bitch from Miss Doubtfire. Like, fucking
She's like,
no.
she's
And
like,
I hear
Mama, get
Noah.
away from me.
I
She's
hear
like,
Noah in the
no,
back
I'm
of my
not.
head, drink the fucking juice.
she's like looking at her hair. She's like, you stupid bitch. Take the juice. No, it's okay. Shh.
And I was-
Shh. You're stupid.
The whole time I'm just thinking, fucking Noah ruined me on this
She's
already.
fucking terrible.
He's just back here saying, oh, fucking Sally Field. Mrs. Doubtfire.
I didn't get that at all.
I didn't get that either. I thought she she stayed calm in the situation, didn't panic.
Yeah. She was being a mom.
She managed to be a mom while somehow being completely condescending to the lady
She
having
was.
the Caesar.
She
She's
definitely
like,
was.
No. There she is. Now she's starting to make sense. Like, oh yes, the 80s medical term, and you're a medical man, of insulting your patient as they recover her consciousness in front of you to let them know that what they must have done some stupid shit. And oh, by the way, it's my genetics fault that you have the
Yeah, and
diabetes.
Julia Roberts is like, if I would run away, I could. And she's like, yeah, I'd like to see you fucking try.
Yeah.
So
I think that, and
not in that
bear with
state.
me on this one. I think that
That's what she said.
I try to look at this like what's the context of the relationship, right? This is a controlling mother, and typically controlling parents always view their children, as little ones. And she spoke to her like she was 4 years old, 5 years old.
She did.
And to be fair, though, Julia Roberts in her shock moment, her seizure, was speaking like a 4-year-old. Her entire logic center was gone. She was talking like someone who wasn't thinking her thoughts through. And in kind, because that's the relationship they have, the mother responded in kind. And after the fact, she apologized because she realized she was being a dick to her mom because she wasn't in her right mind. I think I've seen enough of those situations play out where I did feel like it was a little condescending, sure. Oh, absolutely. The tone was not needed, but I think it's a mixture of a southern accent, a poor southern accent, and a very uncomfortable scene that, I didn't
really
see
was
coming.
uncomfortable.
No, it absolutely
It was super uncomfortable.
And it's
to watch
effective in
it
that
back.
regard
Yeah.
too, because
It
you're
was
like,
really jarring.
You're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's just a bunch of ladies around the hairdressing, and now she is freaking out, and you just find yourself sitting back further in your chair.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
super. It was a great scene because it took you out of. Oh, this is they're just talking shit.
Yeah.
Being
One of those
nosy.
Just Southern gals, just
It was
having a
early
good
enough
time.
in the movie that I was eating when I started watching the movie, but I did not take a bite the entire time the Caesar scene was going on.
Well, you can't eat like the shit's serious. You can
you're just
fucking
like,
die
shut
right there.
So it's I take you through my thought process as I'm watching the scene unfold. Right, I have not seen the play. As an actor that does a lot of stage stuff, I'm a terrible person
I
when
was
it
like, you
comes to
spoke
actually.
highly enough. I thought you'd seen it before.
Oh no, I hadn't. I just know a lot about it.
Did you
'cause
see the
it's-
movie?
No, this is my first exposure
cool.
to this.
Cool, cool.
I knew of the play. I knew of some of the events that happened to it. I knew the general premise. But as somebody who does acting on stage, I'm a terrible fucking student of actual other theater, So, but again, that's kind of good because I don't have a lot of preconceptions if I do a role of other people that have done it, right? But anyway, I'm watching the scene and everything, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, well, shit, here's late 80s, early 90s wedding hair, which fucking Google that and you'll get the idea.
know.
You don't even have to
You'll
see
know.
the movie, but you've got that image in your head. And I thought to myself at first when I'm watching this, she looked at her hair and fucking hated it. And I thought that the seizure was not a seizure. I thought it started as somebody who like was expecting
just
A.
rage.
I thought she was expecting A, and that was getting B. But like also, again, my progression through the scene is that as they're talking about the marriage, right before this, they're talking about how she told her fiance that she didn't want to get married. And they're like, oh, you told him you didn't want to get married? Oh, yeah, we've worked it out, though, since then, right? So then I started to
there's
think...
no context.
No.
Until after.
But I started to think here, when she started to change, was she having second thoughts about the wedding? And then, was she just really fucking pissed off about her hair? And then it was, oh shit, no, she's having a full fucking health, like an
blood sugar's
episode.
crashing,
Her blood
yeah.
sugars, because you don't have any clue at this point that she is diabetic at this point in time.
I think she's just go through the whole thing.
Yeah. So, which, I mean, I've never witnessed somebody have an episode with insulin. Jones, I don't know. I mean, you're the medical person here than I am. I have seen people have seizures. And that reminded me more of an epileptic seizure than it did necessarily of a diabetic episode. But I've never seen one, so I don't know if those things kind of lined up. But it was really in that short window, because really to this point in the time too, ladies and gentlemen, the movie is the typical first 20 pages of a play. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of dialogue. People are moving around. There's a couple things going on the side to try to break up the monotony of what's going on, and you're laughing a little bit. And this is really one of the first grounding moments in the play that takes you out of the hubbub of what the play is, and oh shit, there's something going on here.
Good point.
But yeah, Jones, is that something that happens? Did they kind of get that right? Do you have an idea?
I've seen only a handful of that type of seizure, that crash happening, and it can take a couple different forms. But typically it's pretty close.
I mean, so insulin shock and a diabetic seizure are like two steps away from each other in that way, and it's weird because when I was younger, I had a lot of blood sugar issues, and when my sugar would bottom out, I would just get white as a ghost, and like it's pass out time. Yep. But there was a girl I went to high school with and middle school with that would have I would almost describe it as a seizure in the top half. Whereas a lot of people, we've had friends of ours that have epilepsy, and it's a full thing that happens, and it's a full deal. But the upper half, you could be sitting still, and it's almost, it looks like someone starts with a tick, or they're just being upset about something, and then it goes into a whole thing. A lot less sweaty, but it was also Julia Roberts, young Julia Roberts,
relatively unknown. That was Pretty Woman.
She's 20. So this movie came out in 1989, which means they shot it sometime probably in like 1988 or maybe 1987, because this was all film. So she was 20 or 21 making this. And that fucking woman is drinking the blood of the innocent because she has not aged.
Wow.
Like a day, like looking at her in 1989 and looking at her in like 2015, I don't see that
50s,
she's
right?
now. But like in a 40-year, from a 20-year stretch, I don't think she aged at all.
What I want to bring up that I did not bring up on our episode a couple ways back doing Street Fighter, right, was when we talked about how Ming-Na Wen drinks the blood of the innocent and does not age. I really want
Mount Lebanon's Ming-Na Wen?
No, yes, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Keep
that's
claiming
the
it.
Yeah.
That's the one we're talking. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, great. That I did not mention that we never called to the fact that was that scene in which Bison visited her village, and it was Tuesday, was fucking Mulan versus Gomez Adams in a fight scene. How crazy are movies?
I like it.
In that respect too. But I would say Ming-Na Wen is like almost like naturally and like encapsulated in time. Like someone just hit the pause button on her because she didn't have the Julia Roberts money to chase that physical end. Julia Roberts, here's the thing, and I will say this as respectfully as I possibly can, because I do believe she has aged, but not in the face. I think if you look, she has like Rene Russo head, where as the years have gone on, the vertical height of her skull has gotten higher. So we're now watch her in the movie that she's got. What's the preview that she's got coming out with George Clooney? Some movie coming out this fall. Her face is like 1.5 times the height of George Clooney. They just say that the secret was if you add on to the top, no one will notice what's at the bottom. So,
fun fact about Street Fighter, since we're on that subject, for as critically acclaimed as Steel Magnolias is, it made $30 million less than Street Fighter.
boom!
Now, is that internationally, domestically? What are we looking
Internationally.
at? Well, then fuck. Who gives a shit?
No, apparently $30 million.
I'm talking about
It
domestically
made a lot
where it
more in the
matters.
South, I guess.
Is Steel Magnolias the movie critically acclaimed, though?
I have no idea.
Would we
I believe it is.
I mean, Julia Roberts did get nominated for Best Supporting Actress for the Oscar. She won
Sally
the...
Field won a Golden Globe.
did Julia Roberts win a
No,
Golden
I
Globe?
feel like it was
No,
Golden
she
Globe
was
for
just, it was
this.
just Sally
Fuck
Field.
this shit about
a Golden
Fuck the Golden Globe.
Fuck, listen,
That's why I
listen, the
shoot that
second
dick
most
every chance I
important,
get.
Fuck the Golden
the
Globes.
second most important film award, at least until 2017.
You mean behind the
There was
BAFTAs or the Directors Guild Awards
Inside
or the
Baseball.
Screen Actors Guild
Right?
Award?
Yeah.
Inside
Yeah.
Baseball,
God, the
our friendship
MTV
almost
fucking
ended
movie
because
awards
of
got
the
more
fucking
weight.
Golden
Ricky
Globes.
Gervais wouldn't fucking drop down to the level of the MTV Video Music Awards. All right, you fucking shut your horn.
We have
mouth.
a different opinion of what Ricky Gervais will drop down to the level of doing. Because I'm pretty sure I just watched a movie that was a kids remake of Blazing Saddles called Paws of Fury, and Ricky Gervais basically plays Hedy Lamar's role, Hedy Lamar in that movie, and so it tells me that. And yes, break that down. There is a kids version of Blazing
I
Saddles.
couldn't break that down as you said that. My brain shut off.
That stars Michael
yeah.
Cera and Samuel L. Jackson as your
Paws of Fury.
Yes, Paws of Fury. So I'm pretty sure the idea that Ricky Gervais is this top level heady comedian who will not accept lesser work because he has fucking standards. Paws of Fury begs to fucking differ. You fucking schmuck. Fuck you.
Paws of
so
Fury
anyways.
might get nominated for a Golden Globe this
It
year.
probably would.
Best
And no one
animated
would
feature.
notice.
It really might.
Best animated feature.
But yeah, so Steel Magnolias made 136 million. Budget was only 15 million, which wasn't even the cocaine budget on Street
No.
Fighter.
No, it was not.
Do we? No, what? Do we have the cocaine budget for Steel Magnolias?
I mean,
Is that on paper?
just for Shirley MacLaine alone.
Oh yeah, that's gotta be a pretty
Fucking
good
energy she brought.
See, no, she's not that doesn't come off as cocaine to me. That comes off to me like she does a half a shot of shark
That's fucking
testosterone.
whiskey.
Yeah, Jack Daniels and shark testosterone right into one labia, not both of them, just one side, and fucking marches in there and tries not to uppercut Olympia Dukakis.
How do you get that? How do you get that job on set?
to be the one that shoots shark testosterone into Shirley.
Come on, get it out.
And the one that
Go ahead. Go ahead, wrap your head around that one. What did you just say? Yeah.
You guys thought this
Yeah.
episode wouldn't be funny.
the one who shot shark testosterone into Shirley MacLaine's labia.
That's a film credit on your IMDb
There
page.
you go.
God, that's fucking awesome.
Do you wear goggles when you do that, or you just?
there's got to be some safety precautions, right?
Yeah, there's some
safety
splash.
precautions.
You gotta be careful.
Some safety measures have to be taken, right? Then do you do it to her stunt double too?
I mean, you have to.
That's just guild. That's just union stuff right there.
Yeah, the cocaine went to the Saint Bernard that was malting.
So, regardless of not only Tom Skerritt and first of all, can we all just say Dukakis?
Man, I wrote Dukakis LOL. Dukakis.
Dukak.
I love that last name.
Dukak S.
It's like Dukakis, Bukakis, and cock all at the same time.
That's right. Olympia Bukakis. This is highbrow podcasting.
Isn't it great when you're not sure where the episode's going to go and it just takes you somewhere?
So I'm like, what are we gonna, before we rolled, we're like, what are we going to talk about? This movie's so serious. 38 minutes later, Olympia Bukakis.
Olympia
We found it,
Bukakis
guys. We found it.
shooting shark
We can
into
call it here.
Shirley MacLaine's
That's
labia.
right. You make sure to tell your mom
Staying on brand.
that we say Olympia Bukakis.
So,
We're either going to get a whole group of female listeners that are into this, or we're going to lose a whole group of female
well,
listeners.
they may appreciate,
I hope
I
so.
think they will.
maybe. I don't know about the shark testosterone and the labia, but maybe they'll appreciate that too.
I mean, hey, science.
Science.
Doing whatever it takes to win.
Um,
Shirley MacLaine wants to be the best.
But like when you guys were watching it and they're all talking, like all the females are talking. Like, did you ever like sit back and be like, I wonder what our wives talk about? Because we talk about dick jokes and Bukakis.
oh, they just shit talk us.
I still kind of
Guaranteed.
I still try to put forth the idea to the four women in our lives to have the Nothing Good Takeover episode where we give them a topic and they just do an episode and we just see what happens. It doesn't have to air. I'm just kind of curious.
Well, I also like to mix my pleasure with my pain. So the idea of that might appeal, but I feel like we have to make it like into a full-on like podcasting cuck situation where we're all locked in like a clear box.
You just described our women doing the fucking podcast in the middle of the elimination chamber.
Yes. Well, we're all fucking waiting there, unable, and we're just there for their amusement. There's nowhere for us to hide. They're just like looking over. Look at these fucks. They think they're funny. They think they're sexy. That would be. There you go. Like the elimination chamber. That is hilarious. Listen, guys, I know we have like some important, poignant shit to say about the social roles examined in this film, and like
fuck that. I don't have anything to say about that.
And
Where are you going with this, Noah?
Because I'm saying that we can talk about Julia Roberts and the unfortunate fate, and the idea of like what is motherhood and women's roles in the 80s.
I do have a question.
Yes.
And it's a really good one. I thought about this a lot. I did not. My wife watched this with me. I didn't pose it to her, so I wanted to pose it to you guys first. We all watched it. We all had. I'm sure watching like the death scenes and laying in the hospital, that brings up emotions, thoughts, feelings. Stuff that may be associated or maybe not associated with life, but very specifically, I thought was really interesting. Where Julia Roberts, was it Shelby?
Mm-hmm. Shelby, yeah.
Shelby.
Shelby's pregnant. Tells her mom ain't happy because she understands
She's pissed
because the gravity of this.
She's like, you didn't listen to the fucking doctors.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
I'm not a parent. Mac's not a parent. But you two are. But I'm going to ask Mac too. How would you react? Now, obviously, Tom Skerritt, he was like, hey, this is awesome. I feel like he wasn't really thinking this shit through.
No, Tom Skerritt was kind of like just basically.
He's very cavalier about this shit.
Well, I mean, also though too, I think and I'm trying to be political in any stretch, but I think he is almost an indictment of that prototypical how men in that time see themselves. We've talked in previous podcasts that 80s men saw themselves as manly men doing manly things in the most manliest way possible. So the fact that he's a fucking horn dog flopping around the South doing whatever he wants and no one really cares because that's just Tom Skerritt.
Shooting birds.
Right, doing that thing. That's kind of like that his daughter's married. If she wasn't married, he'd be chasing Dylan McDermott around with a shotgun. But they are, so he's fine.
Here's my question. Seriously, think about it for a moment. How would you react? You both have little girls.
Yeah.
And they're in the same fucking situation. All parties understand the gravity of this. And they came to you and said, hey, Pop, yo, it's happening. Would you be like, what the fuck? Or would you go, hey, that's awesome news, even though you know? How? This is a serious fucking question, but it's a really good question.
Yeah, I think I'd be very conflicted.
Yeah.
Because at one point you're like, this is awesome. You're procreating life. You're giving your life for that life. But like knowing all the medical stuff, you're like, the risk is so high.
Yeah, exceptionally.
Yeah, and there were certain points in the movie, and when we spun the wheel a few weeks ago, I never would have thought that Noah's meat would make me emotional, but like there were certain points in this movie.
There's been a couple of times. Dave's had to listen to a couple of phone calls.
Yeah.
Herb too. Of women who were like, "That meat changed my life. I just want him to tell me he loves me."
But especially
and that meat will not say it.
Jesus Christ!
Sorry, you set it up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
You're
Emotional things about our daughters.
Especially as a parent, you're like it hits you a little harder because you're like, that kid's going to grow up without one. And there were certain points where I was like, Jesus Christ, like this is way deeper than, can't we just watch a shitty 80s action movie instead?
And there are a lot of them we still
can. It could have been Double Dragon.
So you'd be conflicted.
It could have been.
I definitely would
what about
be.
you?
No,
Yeah.
100%. I agree because there's no right or wrong answer in that question because just the kind of I hate to have anything in common with Sally Field ever, but ever that she does. But it's a journey she goes on, the realization, the same way I had when you asked that question, because you obviously you want to do everything you can to keep your little girl safe, like period, anything. There's no amount of sacrifice that can't be made to keep them safe. In the same respect too, you are aware of the joy that she brings you, right? And how dare I deny her even a split second of the same joy I got the moment I saw her, right? So there's that, but knowing that it would be short-lived would make it bittersweet. But I think ultimately, I would rather me or anyone in my life be happy than right any day. And so the idea that if it's happiness is hard to come by, period. It is. When we're teaching our daughter, I'm constantly faced with the decision: do I want her to be successful or happy? And it's a lot easier to be successful than it is to be truly happy. Mental health's a real thing. So at the end of the day, here's the other thing too: you got to trust the person that you raised. You have set up an entire person's life so that they make good decisions, and if their decision, that person with their brain that I help make, determines to do that, then who am I to fucking stand in the way? I'll just be happy when I get to be happy and miserable when I get to be miserable. You just take it. Life's the ride, man. Right? That's what it is. It isn't the destination. It's the ride. So, and sometimes the ride has ups and downs.
Yeah, the destination's death.
Yeah.
So I don't want that destination, right?
Yeah, and there's this juxtaposition between joy and pain, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I hope that I raise my daughters to make smart decisions, but make the right decisions for them, not necessarily for me. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. What about you?
Damn you. I just got fucking emotionally philosophical in the middle of nothing good about Steel Magnolias. We just said some real shit.
Well,
there was like 4 minutes without a dick joke.
It's weird.
Because the movie really questions a lot of things.
It
It does. It makes you think about a lot.
Matt, how do you
So
feel?
yeah, we've really done a 180 from talking about shark testosterone and the labias.
Because
and
I'm on this show.
You
I gotta
guys,
push this shit
you sit
forward.
there and you go ahead and
Job.
ask the two fathers of daughters how they would feel if their daughters
That's
had
the
to make
first thing
this
I fucking thought
decision.
of. I'm watching this and I'm like, these two motherfuckers.
I was
would
thinking
assume
about
be
it.
thinking the same
How do you
thing.
not think about it? It's every time, yeah.
I didn't think about it at all. Does it make you a terrible person?
No, because I wouldn't have thought about it until that is the life and the
Until you've
realization,
experienced
right?
it and you're
Yeah.
in it every day.
So I look at this. I look at this through the prism of the story, because as we were coming up here, ladies and gentlemen, I misread the assignment when we were getting ready to record this podcast. I thought Steel Magnolias was being recorded at a later date, so I had to kind of push a little bit to get the movie in. Much to the delight of Jeff, Noah, and Herb earlier.
He
When I'm
doesn't play the games we're gonna play, and sometimes I don't think he's gonna watch the movie, and he always comes armed. But now we have evidence that he literally was finishing the movie
As he
walking
walked in.
up to my
On his
house.
so
Impressive.
So the joke, ladies and gentlemen, on these guys is that I was watching the movie as we walked up to the front door. I did finish the movie before. I was rewatching something because of something I noticed from earlier in the movie that paid off in the end. And that's actually what I was doing when I was walking up the stairs.
You had to revamp.
I was listening to it on the car ride over because I wanted to make sure I got this. Because as a lot of the dialogue is going on in this movie, and it's talk,
It is dialogue
as
heavy.
a play
Very
as a
heavy.
play is, okay? Which is why a lot of times plays don't always make good movies. There are things that you miss because, I mean, look, guys, be honest. How many times did you watch Steel Magnolias?
Just one.
For this
prepping
prep,
Just
yeah.
one good
Okay.
time.
Once was enough.
Right. But because it's talk, you kind of miss some of the things that
Dialogue moves fast in movies, yeah.
that they set up. So I kind of went back to the first act, right to the wedding, and listening to Sally Field and Julia Roberts talk to each other, mother and daughter and everything. When she's talking to her daughter, and she says, "You're going to make the right decisions with this." And she even says to Jackson, Dylan McDermott, same thing.
Handsome as always.
You guys, because she's basically saying to them, you young fucking horn dogs, don't fuck this up with each other because your dick will kill her
Oh, it's 100%
if you
what she
get
was
her
talking
pregnant.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they
And
were
she's like, I'm
foreshadowing.
giving you my daughter. Don't fuck this up. So we get that established right at the end of the first act,
We do.
right at the point of the wedding. They even put the whole fucking car decorated in condoms, right?
Yeah.
To further hammer home the fact that if you're gonna stick it, you better cover it up and wrap that shit before
Captain
you go.
America does not go into a battle without his shield.
He
Thank you very
doesn't.
much.
No, he doesn't.
Neither should Dylan McDermott on a cold night in 1989.
No. Where was Sally Field popping up when Dylan McDermott was laying down in the bed saying, if you fucking lose this thing again, I swear to God I'm going to keep it with a condom before he fucks, her daughter. We needed that in Endgame in this movie, but we didn't get it. All right, loose connection.
What
but
was the
I
answer to my
digress.
question?
We went off.
I mean, goddamn.
Sorry.
Seeing the pan shot at the end of Endgame as we go down all the
Like,
heroes,
where are we
and then
going?
right next to Cap comes Dylan McDermott holding a flopping condom, and he goes, "Assemble," and then everyone charges. That's what
Look,
I'm seeing.
they both end.
in my head
They
right
both
now.
end in a
There's
fu-
the dick jokes.
They both end in a funeral.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
Like,
No, but there
weird bummer.
there are decisions that are made in this movie that I don't always necessarily think are Julia Roberts. I think that there's pressure from her husband, to have a family, and they kind of allude to this. So, in terms of the question, which at this point I've kind of forgotten a little bit where we were going with it because I kind of lost. I went on a tangent there, as I do.
How would you react?
It would be heartbreaking for me because of the loss of your child. Because here's the other thing too, right? Shelby is very young at this point. And I don't know exactly how much time has lapsed from, maybe 3 years. Mm-hmm. So you're thinking Shelby's only 24 or 25 years old at the time that all this is happening.
Yep.
And through all of it, as disappointed as Sally Field is, she still gives her fucking kidney. When her daughter, when the pregnancy put such damage on her kidneys, and she's been on dialysis, and she was going with her the whole time, and they had this whole conversation and came up with this decision to do this, and that's very close to me because I have a couple members of my family that did that. My cousin was in desperate need of a kidney transplant, and his brother's wife gave him one of hers. So, it hit home to me in that capacity of what that means, and then the life you hope that person can live as a result of doing that. It was difficult for me because I don't necessarily know entirely, too, that the decision was her own. And I think that's the part of it that I had trouble with.
I can tell you right now, I totally empathize with Sally Field. I feel like I would not react well to that information. I think
That would be
eventually I'd come
devastating.
around
Yeah.
because it's too late now. You still got to love your kid, but that's still your kid, and no parent should have to bury their child. That I kept thinking about.
Yeah, she said it when she breaks down at the end. It's like, it should have been me first.
I should have gone first, and she should have. And I think even though the scene was super fucking intense, and I'm like, oh, Sally Field, you're being like a dick, but I'm like the whole time going, I'm pretty sure I'd have a very similar reaction. I have no kids of my own, but I feel really confident. Like, yo, I held you, I cradled you, I fed you, I wiped your ass. You ain't going anywhere anytime soon. This was a very selfish decision, but it's her decision to make.
I think that's ultimately not to get real again, and as promised, it's probably the last time I try to do it, but that's ultimately the entire problem of parenting. It's the idea of being so responsible for somebody's life, but eventually having to put them in a position that you have to let go, because at some point they cross the threshold. If you never let go and they never make decisions on their own, then you have failed. You haven't succeeded. You failed. Because at some point we want to make our own decisions independent of our parents, and that's a struggle.
At some point you have to pass ownership.
Yeah, and it's of their fate.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, you got to eat your broccoli. When she's an adult and she knows the risks of her own life and wants to have a family, and it's like, you want to pull the pin and hold the grenade and see how long you can hold it with your arm stuck out. Some people will make it, some people won't.
Yeah, because if you look at it, like all the times that Julia Roberts was being a bitch to Sally Field, like, after she's gone, like, you would love to have those moments back.
100%.
Like, call me a bitch all day.
Yeah.
Like,
Tell me
as long as you're here to tell me to go fuck myself, you're at least here.
Yes, exactly. That being said, here we go, end of the serious thing. If you had to deal with Sally Field every day of your life growing up, you would relish every opportunity to tell her to go fuck herself. I would be a dick every day. Like, hey, honey, wake up for school. Fuck you, Mom. You just go and you fuck yourself right off. I made you X. I would be so mean just because she fucking deserves it. Meanwhile, Dad, Robin Williams, awesome dude.
I think I don't know how much more I can really say about this film without being like overly serious, because I think like it touched on a lot of fucking intense ass themes that like are
it really did.
They really I absolutely fucking teared up hard when the daughter died, when Shelby died. Shit was fucking
That's
heavy.
a real scene. That's a real scene in there.
And like, everybody has their experiences with death, and that shit hit, and you feel it, and you're like, you're already there in that moment, and
well, even like the scene where she collapses, it's like, oh, her haircut's so like. First, you're thinking, oh, her haircut's so stupid, and then you're like, that kid's just sitting there crying. And you're like, what if that was my kid?
Yeah, that
right?
shit. That
It's
shit's
like,
super
Jesus
real.
Christ.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me in this movie the juxtaposition of male versus female characters. I think this movie would really benefit from having a female director.
Yeah.
That would be able to better bring out, I think, some of the performances that these actors are capable of giving. And not saying that the performances they gave weren't good performances. I just think that this play is so rich, and that the screenplay is so rich, that there's a little bit more that I think these very capable actors could have brought. And I blame the directing for that. But when you look at all the male characters in this play, they're all clowns.
Oh, they're all douchebags. Every single one of them.
Even
handsome ass Dylan McDermott.
Dylan
is a piece of
McDermott
shit.
he's a peacock.
Yeah.
I mean, he serves so little purpose in this. And with the end of the movie, right? So when, as you guys mentioned, the scene where, they take her off life support, and you're just watching the beeps go slower and slower. The dad walked out of the room. The husband walked out of the room. But who was fucking still there? Stoic. Solid like she'd been her entire life. Mom. Mm-hmm. It shows this play really, and in time too, in a very dominated time period in the 80s, which cinema was very male driven and male oriented. You have this movie where the women are a million times stronger and capable than the men are in this entire play.
Easy. Even the lead, I have a hard time with the character development for Daryl Hannah. But even then, she is far more developed as a character, and as a far stronger character than any of the men in this entire movie.
Well,
and if you see her arc, so she starts off as like the nerdy girl who doesn't know how to find her way, and then she's like the rebel girl after the time jump, and then she's like the goody two shoes church girl after the next time jump, and then she's like, hey, I'm going to dedicate my kid's life to Shelby's life.
She's like she chills the fuck out essentially by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, and you also see how her character, from the start of that, she meets her husband at the wedding, who's the bartender, and she doesn't even
the dude from The Mummy.
Yeah, and she doesn't even
Miami.
Yeah,
she doesn't even feel confident asking for a free drink at a wedding. Right? She's like, I want a cherry Coke. And by the way, I don't know how much money the Coca-Cola company paid to have Coke all over this fucking movie. But it is big time.
It's the South.
Some
all
money
cola
there.
is Coke.
Yeah.
I looked at her character. I actually really disliked her character. Not necessarily from the portrayal of the character, but just how the character came across in terms of there was no other way this character was going to come. No matter who acted, who portrayed the character, no matter what actress it was still going to be the same story. I don't like blank slate people. That came out wrong. I don't dislike blank slate people. I'm irritated by blank slate people. We all know somebody who has no real personality, and they're so open to like other vices or influences. So she shows up. She's just this timid girl. She spends a lot of time with Dolly Parton's sassy ass, and boom. Next thing you know, she's taken bits and pieces of that personality and made it her own. It's not her personality.
No.
She's just some fucking sponge.
She's just
she
absorbed
takes
it.
One opportunity to not go to Vegas or New York or wherever, and goes with a church group or something. Boom. Now she's indoctrinated to like Jesus.
Southern Baptist Church. Yeah.
I find, and that's the character she was portraying, and I think like that the whole time going, she's a non-existent character. She's not her own person. She's the type of person who would get married and just conform themselves to whoever they're married with, and find that all of their hobbies are now her hobbies or his hobbies. Those people like that, there's nothing wrong with it, but people like that annoy me.
I don't know. Fuck
be
you if you're like that.
yourself.
Be a person. Have some fucking backbone. No,
I get super irritated by that
I'm
shit.
with you. In real life, that when I notice that that's the kind of person it is, I'm like, fuck you. Like, listen, I got my ass kicked. Pick a day of the week, and it was either because of pro wrestling or comic books. In like the early 90s, every day, and that fucking earned those stripes. You just fucking meld from fucking shit to shit. Own it, even if it's terrible. Own that shit.
Okay, but in a little defense there, I mean, don't you take elements from the people around you as a part of your personality? I mean, you can't sit there and say that, like, the people at this table that, I'm not going to sit there and say that part of my personality wasn't influenced by being your roommate for 5 years, or that, part of my personality didn't maybe come out because I was friends with you.
But
or
you
I was
still
friends
have
with
part
you.
of your own
Well,
personality.
no, I mean, that's
She had
the
almost
difference.
no
I would say that
personality.
the more person type that I'm describing is the person where if you were one person when you lived with Doc and you picked up all of us, you wore bright hoodies, that crisp hoodies that looked like they were brand new out of the rack every time. Despite you've had them for 8 years, they still look like brand new. Like, how the hell do you wash your clothes and have them not degrade a single bit?
It's
iron
effort.
them.
It's an effort, right? And listening to Linkin Park, and then when you live with your dog, you're just really into kibble and scratching your own ass, and that's like your personality.
How did you fucking know that my ass was itchy?
I mean, this is.
I haven't even,
We've been
like-
out here
like
for a while
scratching
doing
it
this
too
fucking
much, right?
show.
Now, Mac, I will agree with you. Okay, you go through your life, all right, and whether you readily acknowledge it or understand it or not, your conscious mind sees what it's looking at. You're focusing on very specific things, which your
100%.
subconscious mind's taking in information all the time,
Yeah.
no matter what, right? Everybody at this table, everybody around the world, is a mansion with many fucking rooms, of course. But this particular character, in my opinion, was very clearly written as that. And while, although, to Noah's point, everybody at this table, I've got and have kind of like removed little bits and pieces of your personality, and it's, because I respect you all so
100%,
much.
yeah.
With lots of other people I consider family and all that. But I'm still me, man. Like, there's shit that I do and I say that no one else does and says. This chick and people like her,
Whatever the trend was is what she was.
that's 100, and that's
100%.
that's what I'm
See,
saying.
I'll come back. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think the first act, she's there as a narrative device. That's what she is. She's there as a new person, so that every single one in that bar, in that beauty shop, can explain their personalities and backstories to each other, or rather, so that Olympia Dukakis can look over and say, "That's blah blah blah, blah 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 blah," and then someone can walk up to her, "Yo, well, Olympia Dukakis is blah 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 blah." That's why she's there. And to the writer's credit, they didn't just eliminate the character right after the first act and have her. And now that we have all the people we care about, they decided to try to do something interesting with her, and it is interesting to a certain. She does do something. She doesn't just sit in the back and go, every time someone makes a joke for 2 hours, right? But she starts as a narrative device, and I think at the very end, they're like, well, what character can we have to put the bow on this thing? Oh, the narrative device girl.
But I see. I go back to looking at the establishment of the character as being somebody who, I must think was controlled. I think there's an element.
No, and she has no personality.
But I look at it as that I don't think she was allowed to have one.
Well,
I mean, when they start talking about the character and she's talking about, well, are you married? And she doesn't know how to answer that question because she does have a man, but that man clearly was up to some shit and was doing a lot of stuff. And you can't sit there and say that he wouldn't have been controlling of her, and she just didn't know what to do with herself.
Mac, we can go in circles and talk about what fucking psychosis and shit she dealt with as a fucking child that led her to have no personality. The reality is she had no personality. The fact is, Dolly Parton herself said, well, she was going to come with me to do this, but she went to this church function, now she prays every fucking 5 seconds. Because she had no... People who do that, not only... And I should express myself more, and I apologize. It's not so much that they just gravitate and pull, they do it in extremes because they don't have anything else going on. They have nothing to fall back on. They have no foundation in their personality. All they've ever been is what they're being told to be, right? That is to your point.
Yeah.
Regardless of the fucking reason why, but that is how she was written. I mean...
Yeah, there's no blend in between. I'm just going to jump from seat to seat because that's the popular thing, or that's what...
Yes. And to your point, and I thought I got a kick out of it at the end, there was finally a moment where she made a decision for herself effectively, right? She made that joke, And like, oh, you're finally lightening up.
They all called her on it too.
Because
Yeah.
it wasn't like the thing that she just like, she's kneeling and praying like, oh, Jesus, that she made a joke. It was something that felt more organic for the character, as if she's developing gray, like shades of gray for herself. Because up until that point, she was black or white. She was all in on whatever fucking flavor of the week that she was in. That's the only point I'm making it, and that I think that's how she was written.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I got to just take a minute and step aside here from Steel Magnolias to say that I have to apologize to you, Doc, because clearly it's been a while since we've done something that is more serious in subject matter than dick and fart and pussy jokes and an occasional reference to Phil Collins being a Nazi or something else like that.
Sometimes that happens.
You are a man with something to say, and this episode has been largely you, either we intended you to or not, coming out and going, Jesus Christ, Doc made some points and made me make a fucking point. We had to say some serious shit, and that was 100% spot on. I didn't think about that when I was watching Daryl Hannah just him-haw her way through this goddamn movie, but you're like, fuck yeah. So,
Oh, thanks. I'll take it.
I guess in the end, Noah's Meat gave you some sort of clarity.
Yeah,
And,
I thought. I know, like, I wanted to like tear this movie apart, but there's very little to tear apart. It was a fun, interesting, deep, fucking emotional movie. And on the Alley rating scale, the arse scale, she gave it a fucking 5 out of 5. She loved the shit.
Damn, all right.
And her exact
It's a
words
chick
were,
flick,
and
it
I
is.
quote, "a whirlwind of emotions." That's what she said.
Yeah.
She
It
fucking
is.
cried. She bawled her eyes out. She laughed. Like, she fucking loved the shit out of this film. And she's like, this is so good. I'm like, it's really good.
Yeah, I mean,
it's iconic, and now we know why it's iconic. You know,
no, for sure. This is a women, by women for. This is a movie of women for women by women.
Except it's not. It's written and directed by a guy.
Well,
Fucking
that's
Herbert
because that's what Hollywood
Ross.
was back in the day.
God damn him.
Herbert.
Herbert.
But he made Footloose.
Herbert's making
Even
points
more
all over the
reason, God damn him.
There's Herbert's making points all over the place here. And we hope that you make points all over the place with us here during the show. I promise that for the next time that Noah's Meat is used for movies, that I will at least research to see if they're any good before I put them on there.
Good
Because
call.
look at this.
Appreciate that.
But we got a lot going on. Guys, we're in a swing of October, which means coming up, we've got some classic 80s Halloween cinema coming up. And we've got a Halloween Havoc happening.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Ready for this.
Have we announced the Halloween movie that we're going to be covering?
We
up
have
here soon?
not, and I want to wait.
Oh, do you?
I want.
I just want to open it up. Can I?
Just do
one.
it.
Just
Just
one.
do-
One
just
gift.
do.
Like Christmas Eve. Just one.
Just one. Just
Can
that's
I?
it.
Can I
Get
just
it.
take the vote?
Get it.
What if I just do initials of it and not
No,
say
just
the,
say
just
it.
say
At
the
this
whole thing?
point, no matter what it is, it
lot
could
of
be.
hoopla.
It could be the last temptation of Christ. We're not going to get the hype that we've now established in the middle of this. So, Dave, what movie are we doing here in a few weeks in October?
Can I do it as an interpretive dance?
I swear to God, if you don't fucking do it, I'm going to end the recording. You know what? You don't get to do it. Nothing good. Here we go. The Urban Dictionary defines ass play.
I fucking saw it before you say it. I saw point oh, he has something. I saw ass play. I'm like, oh my god.
Okay. Take a second, get your shit together.
I was fine until he reacted before my brain had a chance to.
Oh my god. That was wonderful.
Okay, here we go. Take two. The Urban Dictionary defines ass play as stimulating someone's anus with any of the following: finger.
I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to leave all this in and put it at the end of the episode just so you can see.
Blooper reel, I like it.
Ass play just gets me.
Apparently.
As it should. All right, let's try it again.